Are you parenting from the present or from the pain of your past? There was a time when growing up, I felt like an orphan in a two-parent household. Um, Somehow I got in a position where my parents prioritized their marriage to the point of a lesser investment in their role as parents. And so when that happens, we tend to make promises to ourselves, vows of how we'll never treat our children the way we were treated. And yeah, so have you ever found yourself in a position where you're parenting your children today out of empathy for the pain you experienced as a child? That's the question I had to ask myself this week. Um, you know, Parenting is highs and lows. It happens for all of us. And there are some times where you just get in a rhythm, a routine. There's just so much happening in life outside of your home that's impacting everybody in the home. And it doesn't take long if you're not attuned to start making certain choices, or you stop being as intentional about one thing over here because you don't really have the time for that. And then by the time you realize it, you're noticing that the dynamic in your home, your dynamic between the people in the home is different. And you're like, wait, when did that happen? It had happened over time. It's just small micro choices that get you turned in a different direction than where you once were. And that was the situation I found myself in this week with our youngest. She's a teenager, and the teenage years are the teenage years. We've all been there. It's complicated, and it's even more complicated in 2025 for any number of reasons. And yeah, but there's no breaks in parenting. You don't get to press pause and be like, you know what, let me just get a couple weeks where I don't have to be your parent, where I can just decompress or think about other things. Like, parenting is an all the time thing. And yeah, this week it just got to the point where I was like, man, her attitude, there's just a lot of things that she was giving us that I was like, ugh. And the whole environment of our home was just off. And I've talked before about how moms really are the thermostat in a home. We set that temperature, and then people acclimate to that temperature. But it had gotten to the point where this girl had become the thermostat in the home, and I was like, well, how did we get there? So I had to do one of the things that I've done all of my life, is to just, well, first be aware. So I had to be aware that this was off. And then I had to be curious about how did we get here. And real talk. If you're enjoying the content, this would be a great time to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Okay, let's get back to the video. It's me. You get tired. You get tired. And you start checking out here and there and letting things that you normally wouldn't let go, you let them go. So like with her, there's certain attitudes that she'll try to have, or there's a way that she'll try to talk to us that I would not normally tolerate. But I have other things going on. You have enough nights of insomnia. You are feeling like a zombie. And so when she's doing what she's doing here and there, you're just like, never mind, forget it. But what I really realized was the thing that was different, because I was like, I don't go through this. I didn't go through this with my boys. And so where did this come from? And why is it so different? Well, I'm not a guy. I'm not a guy. So my relationship with my boys is different than my relationship with my daughter, because I'm not also bringing, when I was you know, I mean, my boys are young men now, but when they were younger and I was actively raising them, there was no internal conflict that I was dealing with that related to them at all. And so I could compartmentalize and I could really just parent them as the boys they are and the vision I have for the young men that my husband and I want them to become. But with my daughter, it's complicated because I have a complicated childhood history. And as much work as I've done around that, and as aware as I am that that exists, I did not realize that a lot of what I was letting slide with her was an empathy for little Vanessa, for 15-year-old Vanessa, who who at that age heard the most devastating thing that to this date I've ever heard in my life. I heard my mother say to me, look me in the eye and say to me that your father never wanted you, that I had to advocate for having. I wanted another child. He didn't want any more children. If he was going to have any more children, he wanted a boy. So that, when you're a daddy's girl, right, even though things had been cooling off in that regard and there was a distance, to hear that and to hear that from your mother at 15, that ices your soul a bit. And, you know, I told you before, I'm a New Yorker, and there's a resilience with that. I'm also the child of immigrants. There's a resilience of that. And so you kind of just are like, oh, she's tripping. Let me just keep moving. Like that's a whack thing to say. Who says that? I'll just keep moving. And we'll see in the end, like who, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, that and other things that consisted of my childhood, I had no idea that they were in the background tweaking and informing and clouding and bringing me to a place where my daughter is the only girl in the family. She and I are the only females in the house. And, you know, as much as we try to speak of equality and everybody's the same and everything is unisex and everybody's experience is the same, that's a lie. Everybody's experience is not the same. A boy growing up, as much as people want to sort of equalize it and say, you know, what's good for boys is good for girls too, and yada yada yada, it's just not the case. It's just not the case. So we can just be honest and start there. And so the experience that my boys had growing up is not the same as my daughter's experience. There are different challenges, there are different dynamics, there are different social constructs, there are just different things. There are different things that she has to consider and that she has to deal with on a daily basis in school that they did not when they were in high school. And those are just the facts. And so, because I am the other female in the house, I'm sensitive to that. And I try to give her leeway, right, to tap into how she's feeling about that and to be able to put words to it and to really convey like what her experience is, because we're raising her the same as we've raised them, to understand that their voice matters, their personal expression matters and is valuable and is necessary. And so yeah, so I'm sensitive to that, but I'm also sensitive to how alone and lonely and misunderstood and isolated I felt in my own home, and how the feelings that I was feeling were not welcome to be shared. Not because somebody told me we don't want to hear about it. It's just because if you said something about it, you kind of got the deer in headlights, like, what? Like, is that really a problem? Like, what is, you know, there was just no empathy there. These are immigrants who have come to this country and they are making the thing do what it do, and they are hustling. And I'm sure they felt all kind of ways about it, but expressing that was not their thing. They just pushed through and make it do what it do. And so here I am, and they are expecting more of the same. I expect you to make it do what it do. You can feel what you feel, but I'm gonna put that to the side, and this is how it is, and push through. And so I'm sensitive to that. And so I will give her, and have given her, more leeway to express herself, even in ways that I wouldn't have, because I really find it slightly disrespectful. But if it'll get me the information that I can come back later and help her couch it in a way that still expresses what she wants to say to me, but in a way that acknowledges that she and I are not friends. I am her mother. So to all the women who think they're friends with their children, I'm sorry. This is where we disagree, and that's fine. But we're not friends. And so there's a way that you will talk to your mother that is not the way that you're going to talk to your friends. That I still hold true to. But understanding the complexity of her feelings just within herself, in a world that has become very complex and in many ways is hostile to women, and where you have girls who are growing up in whatever family dynamics they're growing up with, however invested their parents are or are not. So as invested as my husband and I are, or less so, and the whatever anger they have about that, and how that is now impacting my daughter, so that by the time she comes home from school, it's like she's been at war, because she wants to be an A student and all the things. So as I'm listening to her decompress and share here and there about what she goes, I'm filing that, and I want to give space to that, and I want to, contain it and speak to it from the perspective I have. But I had to realize this week I had gone too far. I had gone too far to where it's like her feelings and her angst can become the tirade of the house, and that we are all sitting here wondering, okay, which version of her are we getting today, and so on and so forth. So every child is different, and so I had to really first of all pray, because Lord, give me wisdom about this child, but also just go back to the things that I that practices, right? The practices that I have done in raising my children that work for me. Everybody has their own rhythms and paradigms and philosophies, and there is a way that I have approached parenting that takes it. For instance, I take into regard temperaments, and I take into regard, everybody has a different temperament blend, and those blends don't always play nice together all the time. And so being mindful of, is what I'm experiencing from this person in my family, them intentionally trying to be disrespectful or be offensive or be wounding, or is it an expression of their temperament that doesn't sit well with mine? Hey, Dr. Vanessa here, interrupting the video you're enjoying with something else that you might find helpful. There was a time when I had 3 teens in my house, and talking to them or trying to get through to them felt like talking to the wall. And when that happens, we have a tendency to lean into trying to convince them that what we're saying is right. And if you know anything about teens, they resist that wholeheartedly. Have you ever had that experience of trying to convince a kid to see things your way rather than connecting with them? Well, I have a tool to help you identify the habits that are hindering your talks with your kids, and then give you the tools to be able to connect with them so that you're seen and heard, and give them that same gift. The link is down below in the description box. Now let's get back to the video. And yeah, maybe they need to modify that because we live in a world with other people and you can't just be full on whatever you want to do all the time. You have to be considerate of other people. And so that's part of parenting, is teaching your child how to, as much as possible, live peaceably with all men. Okay? Um, so yeah, I had to take into consideration her temperament blend, and that for her, um, structure is she needs structure. Without structure, she doesn't want the structure. Her temperament blend can be structured, and then and the other half of the time completely unstructured. So she can go between the extremes. And the part of her that doesn't want any structure, that wants to be able to say and do whatever they want to say and do all the time, was what we were experiencing all the time we were with her. And that wasn't going to work. And so I had to realize that what had laxed that made this possible was I had removed a lot of the structure for her. Because why? Because I got tired. I got tired. Sometimes you get tired parenting, and you're like, all right already. She's got it. She got it. She's watched it, what I've done with her brothers. She's been in this family long enough. She knows what's happening. But no, she needs me to be active and to be invested and to be her parent for the whole time that I'm responsible to be her parent. And I'm responsible to parent her actively until she is 18 years old. And I don't get to just tap out and be like, never mind, I'm just going to take a few years off and then I circle back at the end and tighten up before no. And so I had to realize that there were a lot of parameters that I had let lax. I referred to it before as, the kiddie rails at the bowling alley. We are aiming our children in a certain direction. You are aiming them in a direction, whether you intend to or not, by the way. Um, yeah. So you're either being intentional or you're unintentionally pointing them in a certain direction. So we are intentionally pointing our children in a certain direction, as we were raising them, and those guardrails are the parameters that we have for them, and they're not going to be the parameters that other people have, and that's okay. That's okay. Because I don't have the children you have. You don't have the children I have. I'm not you. You're not me. So different people and different combinations of people are going to have different needs and therefore different parameters, and that's what makes the world go round. But yeah, this girl, I had put the rails down, and her ball was going off into the gutters. And no, ma'am, we got to put these rails back up. But the key that I had to realize is the connection between empathizing with little Vanessa, with preteen Vanessa, with teen Vanessa, who had a very disconnected mother, a disinterested mother, a distant mother, and who didn't really have a lot of experience of the dynamic of interacting healthily with your mother in the home. I didn't have that. We had that sort of dutiful, do this, do that. You have this appointment this day, we're going here. Oh, by the way, you're going to start taking piano lessons. I don't care if you don't like the piano, that's what you're going to do. It was that kind of thing. This is what you're doing. This is what I've decided. We're not discussing it. There was no hanging out and time at, girl time, mother-daughter time. There was not, except for sometimes going to the theater, which I do thank her for, because every New Yorker who is able should go to the theater. It's in our backyard, so that's what you should do. So an appreciation for theater is something that she has, an exposure to theater is something that she gave me. But I mean, day in and day out, it was, when she was home, because A lot of her years was working and being in school, and so I spent a lot of time with my dad. So when she was home, it was, she's over there, I'm over here. Go ahead and do your work, set the table. Just very uh, didactic, bare bones. Um, so that's not where I learned anything about what it really means to be a woman, what it means to relate to other women, what it means to grow up in a woman in this world, in this country. Uh, all of that, I had to learn other ways. I had to learn watching sitcoms. I had to learn spending time with my friends' mothers. I had to learn other ways and sort of piece it together. And so I have an empathy for the plight of a child, a preteen, a teenager who is just sort of figuring it out, putting things together on her own, piecing things together without a voice saying, yeah, girl, you're going in the right direction. Oh, and let me tell you what happened when I had that same situation. And oh, nothing to learn from the person in my home. And so wanting with my daughter to be very accessible to her and to mute myself, to allow for that expression, but muting myself to the point where she was angry. And I had to stop and say, okay, wait a minute. She's not me. She's not little Vanessa. She is who she is. And she does have a mother who is present and quite invested to the point she left a medical career to raise her children. So I'm quite invested, and I need to get back in the game. I need to give her the structure that helps her feel safe. Sometimes structure is about safety. I know there are these parenting philosophies where people are like, just let your kid be free range and just let them do whatever they want to do. That's actually not love. It's really not even safe. Like, practically speaking, it's not safe, but it's also not love. Because things that you love, people that you love, you care for and you protect. And so part of caring for and protecting for this child in a way that I didn't need to do for my sons, not because they're boys and this is a girl, not that dynamic. They have different temperaments. So the brother, the oldest brother closest to her is a guy that is very self-regulating. Once he understands the rationale of why we're going in that direction, he's like, say less. I have my own I have my own parameters within yours because I'm trying to go there, and I got it. I will regulate myself, and if I get off track and fall short of my standard, then I will figure out how to autocorrect. So he's crushing it in college. he's crushing it because as soon as he's getting grades he doesn't like, he's like, oh, say less. I know how I'm going to fix that, and we're going to get this straightened out. So I have that child, but this child is not that. She's not like that. Without external structure, even though it's not her favorite, it's like everything's possible. I'm going wild. I'm going off. I'm saying whatever I think. And yeah, that's not the way to be successful, contrary to what we're experiencing in America lately, top down. Just saying whatever and flowing however you want to flow in the moment, then having to backtrack because you realize, oh, I put my foot in my mouth. Like, that is not the way to live successfully. It's not the way to live as much as possible at peace with all people while understanding and respecting and loving yourself as you respect and love others. That's a tall order, but that's part of what as her parent, as her mom, I'm called to raise her up to do, right? So I don't get to have the privilege to take my foot off the gas for a long time, um, and just be like, she'll be okay. She's not that kind of kid. And so I had to own my stuff. I had to recognize, oh, I'm a lot of the reason that she's here. I've let her get out of pocket. I have given her the impression that it is okay to behave the way she's behaving. And it's my responsibility to put those rails back up. And newsflash, does she love it? No. We had to have a serious conversation yesterday to talk about what kind of parameters were going to be put back in place, because she needs them. She needs them until such time as she is able to regulate herself. And yeah, it was a peaceful conversation. Was she mad at me and gave me the cold shoulder after? Of course. She's a teenager. And every self-respecting teenager thinks they know what's best and thinks what they're doing is absolutely fine and thinks that whatever you have an issue with is because you are doing the most. So I enter the conversation understanding that. I've entered the conversation prayed up. I'm ready. And the main thing is the awareness that I gained in the situation. I was able, because of what I let get out of hand, I was able to step back and see the blind spot I had. And to recognize, yes, I can empathize with my daughter and I can parent from that, with that sensibility in mind, but I'm not parenting from that place. 15-year-old Vanessa cannot parent my 15-year-old. I can't feel, because she and I are completely different people. Back to temperament. We are completely different temperaments. So I cannot copy and paste. Oh, this is what I would have liked. This is what so this is what I'm going to do with her. No. I was very autonomous. Okay? My mom was not going to be checking my grades. She was not around. She was asleep before she had to go work the night shift. And my dad, after he worked construction all day, was not going to sit up with me and oversee my homework. And that's how that was from elementary. So thank God I had the type of temperament that was like, okay, what do I have to do? And because I knew I wanted to be a doctor and I was the one who was going to have to do the work to be the doctor, okay, what do I have to do? Okay, that's what I'm doing. And so I can't act like she's like that. She's not like that. Very smart girl, can turn it on when she wants to, when she needs to, and buckle down, but it's usually under the wire. It's usually something she doesn't advance, but she doesn't operate from that place most of the time. She's like half that way, half another way. Half, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to sit here and, so she needs external encouragement to stay on the path, particularly when she gets tired of being focused and wants to just roll off to the side. I can't just sit there and watch her do that. I have to put up the parameters, and she has room to wiggle within that. Okay, we have to allow for who she is and how her mind works, but not to the point where she now takes over the home because she has felt so unloved. Because sometimes a lack of structure reads for the child as they read it as, I'm not loved. I can do whatever and nobody even cares. I can totally self-destruct in here and everybody will just keep eating. They won't even look up from their plate. I can say whatever. Yeah, that doesn't read as love. Even children know that. And so as much as on the surface, and even after our conversation, she tried to give me the cold shoulder because I'm doing too much. But I'm going to tell you, as I was talking to her and as I was explaining and apologizing first for how we got here, that I let her down. and explaining what what my role is as her mom, and how I had dropped the ball, and how I am clear on what things need to be put in place. I was looking at her while I was talking, and there was such a softness in her eyes. She wasn't sitting there, she was listening, she was absorbing. And I think she was realizing, oh wow, because she knows, I'm saying what she's saying. My mom knows that I'm hating everything that she's saying right now. But the fact that she's willing to say it, the fact that she's willing to own her stuff, she loves me. She cares about me. Her eyes said that to me. Not that I needed that, because, yeah, I had already had my kick in the pants, and I was like, okay, I'm back. I'm back on track. But to see that it meant something to her, that there was that element of, oh, so you did realize that something is wrong here and that you need to be invested. And when I say parameters, it is not like punishments, or it's about me spending, it also includes me spending more time with her in a focused way that allows for the passing of wisdom, the time that she knows that she will have with me every day, that she can say things to me that need to be said, because she knows every morning I will see mom at this time, and this is what we're going to do during that time, and I always have that. There's a security in that she can enjoy, and she might not get it now, but when you go off into your day after having spent time with someone you know loves you and set that time aside for you, and actually what we're doing is, that's going to be time that we're going to be in our word together, like doing a devotion together, and just talking about what we're seeing and what it means to us, and how we're processing it, and how it's given context to the things we're experiencing, where I plan to be vulnerable with her and honest with her, sharing with her my experiences as her age, and up through now my age, so that she's not like me. She's not in the pickle that I was in, where I just had to figure everything out myself, because there was no one sitting me down and saying, this is what you can expect. She will have the benefit of time with me every day, where we can talk about life and what this word means to us as we live it. And then she gets to go off to school, where I don't know what she faces, really. We don't know what our children face, really, every day when they're at school. But I know that I've armed her with the sense that I will have armed her with the sense that she is loved. She has been prioritized by at least one person in this world. And what she has to say and how she feels and how that affects her life matters. So I share this once again to help us see how our childhood really does impact our womanhood, and ultimately our motherhood, should we become mothers, and how that awareness helps us to really be the best moms we can, because we know that we're parenting in the here and now, that we're not just parenting from the place of a wound in the past. We've taken the information from that. We've learned something. We've healed there. And now what we've learned, we're able to apply to the present, but we're not just blindly parenting in response to whatever traumatic experience we had as children. Yeah, we've processed some things, and we've allowed it to inform what we're doing today. And that is how you can really feel more confident. There's no literal blueprint for motherhood. It's going to look different for everyone. Again, because we're different women and we have children who are different from other people's children and different from each other. But you can have your own blueprint and how you can use the pain and the pluses from your childhood to inform that. So I hope that encourages you. I'm sure it has. And until next time, please remember, when it comes to you being the mother of your children, you are the woman for the job. Take care.